NHL Nightly with your host, the sportsman, a.k.a. Beard Lebowski, a.k.a. Jeremiah Maxwell. And with him, as always, maybe Pearlo, Wisdom, and Rico in Barrie.
Hey, what do you say? Thanks for being here. I did the hey, what do you say as a tribute to John Forsland because we've got the Emerald City Hockey Boys, Dylan and RJ. Check them out there. If the link for their website and their YouTube channel is in the comments of this. So if you're not familiar with them and you're a diehard Emerald City hockey fan, and our mod Salty's already in, giving you props. So just so glad you guys could take the time. We got a couple of games that we'll talk about, but we're not going to keep the Emerald City guys all night. We want to get right into it, man. Dylan, RJ, how's the season been going for Emerald City?
Oh boy, it's been a season so far. It's been a slow start for the Kraken. So it's been interesting, but you know what? They had a big win, beat the Lightning for the first time in franchise history, their last game, hoping that the new month brings some new momentum.
Yeah, as it did in previous seasons. The Kraken have started pretty slow in October, all 3 seasons they've been around. Thankfully, that last one seems like it might be the sign of turning things around. They come back home. I went to their practice today as they kind of got back on the ice and got used to everything again. And good timing with the hey, what do you say? Because actually tomorrow is John Forsland bobblehead night. It's a talking bobblehead giveaway at the game for the first 10,000 fans.
Nice. Yeah, at only $300 a ticket, they should probably throw in a bobblehead, right?
Hey, I bet you, I don't approve of this, but if you wanted to turn around and, put it on eBay, it'd probably pay for the ticket. Those things are going to be popular.
I imagine. Well, and, any indication that Seattle is a first-class organization was the fact that they hired him. And then they bring in Eddie Olczyk. I know they have some other guys working there. Their other sideline guy escapes me. I feel bad not knowing his name right now. Maybe because they regionally blacked the games out in Alaska. So, anyway, so my man Pearlo, who's in here, he was not a believer in them this year. He said they shot too high up for percentage last year and it wasn't repeatable. I like to say too, though, I feel like before we get in the weeds of it, losing Daniel Sprong and Donato, those are big moves. Those guys played big roles for Seattle last year, I thought. And I don't know how you guys feel.
Yeah, it was, they were a big part of the fourth line, which, a lot of times kind of bailed the Kraken out in close games. That fourth line was the difference maker for them. The fact that you had Morgan Geekie as well in there, you had Daniel Sprong. These guys scored a decent amount of goals, more than most fourth liners do for teams. And that was a big part of the Kraken's key to success. But we knew Dave Haxtell wanted to move more towards a traditional fourth line. They felt like they wanted that for the postseason. And then just with the development of guys like Ty Cartier, there needed to be spots. There's just not enough spots for everybody on the roster, not enough spots in the lineup. You go out, you get a Belmar to bring him in. You needed somebody who could help come in and win faceoffs. They needed to do that. And so it's just, there's not enough spots.
Yeah, 44 goals from between Sprong, Geekie, and Donato. Those 3 guys, there's no way, Belmar, Cartier, Tanev, they're not replacing 44 goals. But yeah, I saw the comment down there, Sprong doing great in Detroit. He sure is. 7 points in 10 games. We know he's capable of it, but I just think Haxtell wanted a different look.
Yeah, so outside of them kind of getting a slow start, I noticed today from your Twitter that 4 goals in 6 games for Shane Wright down at Coachella Valley. I wanted to ask you this question. This was the big one, and then I want to let Pearlo and Rico talk to you guys. But to me, wouldn't it not be the worst thing in the world if Seattle missed the playoffs and maybe got a top 10 pick again, just to add a little bit more of that? Because for me, it looks like they're not going to go the route that Vegas did, where Vegas, they got all these great guys. And I actually liked Seattle's expansion draft. I thought they were being criticized, but they didn't take on a lot of terrible contracts. But that you're going to need that high-end talent to maybe get you over the top. You beat the defending Cup champions last year, I think, because of depth, and they were a little bit banged up. but I loved how they played. I think Dallas, that series could have went anywhere. You could have found yourself really close into the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference Finals. Do you feel like maybe 2 steps forward, 3 steps back this year? Maybe if you don't make the playoffs, you get a high prospect back, another one to add into the system. Well, how do you guys feel there?
Sorry, I'll go first.
Go
I
ahead.
don't know. Their pipeline's pretty stuffed as is, and because they were an expansion team, again, like the problem with keeping the fourth line from last year, there's nowhere to put anybody really, right? Even with Shane Wright, killing it in the AHL. There's no space for him on the NHL roster, right? This upcoming season, this is really the last year that you've got the contract of Alexander Wenberg. You've got Jordan Eberle under contract. Yanni Gord's up next year. A lot of the expansion guys are going to start coming off the books in the upcoming seasons. Then you're going to start to have more space for them. But I mean, it's not like their pipeline is, the cupboards are not bare right now, right? Riker Evans would be on the big club anywhere else, basically. It's just, again, there's not enough spots on the blue line for him. So he's back down in Coachella Valley. But he has earned the right to be an NHL player. Shane Wright, like we talked about. And then you look at some of the guys, in Major Junior. Jagger Furcus is on fire right now. He's got 16 goals and 29 points in 14 games played in the WHL. Carson Rykoff, their second-round pick from this last season, is second in the OHL in scoring. Like, they have prospects. So even though they haven't been picking high, they've still got an amazing pipeline.
Yeah, and I think it's never bad to add another, really high-end prospect to a young core. But I think in the greater context of things, it would be a bad thing for the Kraken to miss the playoffs, even if they got another top 10 pick. As Dylan mentioned, they have a lot of really good prospects. The cupboards are not bare. But watching this team, I mean, you do look at them and you say, yeah, they could probably use another star player to pair with these guys. They're probably 1-star player away, it feels like. But I think that comes next offseason when you get contracts like Wenberg, Drieger, possibly Eberle off the books. You're going to have enough money to go after one player that has pretty much any cap hit you want. They're going to have about $11 million to play with there. And I think that's where you need to make an addition to somebody who's, not necessarily an 18-year-old who's going to be a few years away, someone who can kind of fit the core right now. And then you'll kind of see the team probably start to make the next step.
Rico, you have any questions for the guys?
Nothing I wrote down, but probably a few more, but one quick one, and I don't know if I should know this already, is who do you think the Kraken's biggest rival is so far since being entered into the league?
That's a good question. You mind if I handle that one first, Dylan?
Go for it.
So when they came into the league, everyone was kind of pushing the Vancouver rivalry that it was supposed to be the Canucks. And I mean, that really, hasn't caught fire yet. Vegas is another one that, maybe there's a little bit of animosity there with Kraken fans, but I think it has to be Colorado. And that was confirmed early this season at the home opener and everything, just because of the bad blood that was generated during that playoff series last year. You have Cale Makar taking out Jared McCann with a dirty hit for a few games. You have Jordan Eberle hitting Andrew Cogliano, ended up breaking his neck, even though, no one could really tell at the time. But you just have a lot of that kind of hatred back and forth. And, it carried over into this season too. You look at the home opener and the Avs had, I think it was Logan O'Connor, go right after Jordan Eberle to answer for that hit in a fight. And there was a little bit of nastiness kind of throughout that whole game. So I think Colorado, weirdly enough, I wouldn't have thought so a couple of years ago, but that's who I'd go with.
Yeah, it's certainly the one the fans get most into right now. I mean, there is an element of it with Vegas just because they're the two most recent expansion teams, but it feels like at least a lot on the Seattle side. Everybody's just kind of tired of always being compared to Vegas for just because we're also new. Colorado is the one where you get all 17,000 people at Climate Pledge Arena booing Cale Makar every time he touches the puck, all half a year after that last playoff series. So it's definitely Colorado.
Yeah. I love it. Perlo, you got any questions for the boys?
Okay. Yeah. How confident are you with the goaltending for Seattle?
You want to take it first, Dylan, or should I go?
You can go for it.
This season, I actually feel pretty darn confident about it. And the reason is they have two goalies who are both playing pretty well consistently with Grubauer and Decord. And I know Grubauer wasn't getting a whole lot of goal support early on, but you look at those first two games that he played, both losses, but he was excellent. There was nothing better he could have done. And the Kraken's goal scoring issues were the problem. They got shut out in one of those games. They only scored one in the other. So I'm really confident. Joey Decord has looked like a legitimate NHL tandem goalie. And I think Dave Haxtell believes in him too. That's what gives me a lot of confidence, is that Haxtell's not going to be afraid to play him the 30 or so games that he needs to play to keep Grubauer fresh down the stretch. Because that was one of my big worries going into the season, is that Haxtell maybe wouldn't trust Joey Decord enough. They were going to play Grubauer a whole bunch of games, and by the time the playoffs rolled around, he was going to be really burnt out. But I think Haxtell fully trusts Joey Decord. He even mentioned so at practice today. He said, we've got two guys that are both playing really well. They support each other well. And that gives me a whole lot of confidence in net. The Kraken have had some struggles early, but goaltending certainly has not been one of them.
Yeah, I feel like so far this is the best that the Kraken goaltending has looked in any given season, right? Season 1, we had the historic lows from Philip Grubauer, just absolute ridiculous. Goals saved above expected. He was like -30 or something halfway through the season, like just unbelievable. And then last year you had like the interesting case of maybe Philip Grubauer being the better goaltender, but Martin Jones getting all the goal support and all the wins, and it kind of created this weird tandem that Haxtell had to manage. But this year it feels like the Kraken are solid each and every night, no matter who they throw in. And that's kind of been something that's new for the Kraken, and I'm liking it.
Okay. How concerned are you with the slow start, though, that they're going to be scrapping for a playoff spot? They're not going to be in the top 3 of the Pacific. I still think that we're probably going to see 5 teams from the Pacific make the playoffs. It's just stacked. Vancouver looks incredible to me this year. Edmonton looks like a dumpster fire. Couldn't make me happier. Love what's going on there. Really sad to see what's happening in Calgary. I hope they figure it out. They're playing Dallas close tonight, but it's 3-2 Dallas right now. What are you guys' thoughts on the Kraken fighting for a playoff spot? I know it's October, or November. It's November 1st. I know it's November 1st, but we're 3 weeks away from U.S. Thanksgiving, which is traditionally that mark. If you're out, it's very hard to get back in. So I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. Anyway, go ahead, guys.
No, I think it's a fair question to ask, especially after how they started the season. But look, last year, this team finished with 100 points. They were a wild card team. Before the season, both RJ and I agreed. We both thought they were going to be a wild card team again. And last year, they started slow too. They're only one game off of what their start was last season. So despite the fact that this year it's looked a little rough, it's been very up and down with maybe more downs than ups. They're virtually on the same pace that they were last season. So I'm not too worried about it. Assuming they can build momentum off this latest win against the Lightning, their schedule really lightens up here a little bit. They've only had 3 home games so far. They had 2 big road trips against almost exclusively playoff teams from last year. So now that the schedule lightens up a little bit, they get to come home. I think they're going to be able to string wins together, and it's not going to look nearly as bad as it did a week ago.
Yeah, I think by the end of November, we could all just kind of be forgetting about this stretch. They did this last season. And also you look at the standings too, like they have 8 points. The team in the second wild card spot in the West has 8 points. It's still so close because it's November. You're going to get that parity also with the loser points, with the overtime losses. Like, it's a long season, and it's too early to be really worried about it.
So my man Salty has a question. By the way, he's a Red Wings Avalanche fan. So, but he lives in Michigan too. So go figure. But he's a great guy. Love you, Salty. Comes in and he mods for us, which we don't need because we don't get the traffic. But we're just getting started. He says, "Do you guys feel confident in Riker Evans? He looked good in the AHL playoffs."
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Riker Evans, look, he's an extremely talented puck mover. His vision when he has the puck on his stick is unbelievable. I've been fortunate enough to watch him at several Coachella Valley games, be there for that playoff run, and he's fantastic. And we got to see that during training camp with the Kraken, through the preseason with the Kraken. They gave him a lot of opportunities in the preseason. Vince Dunn was a little banged up through most of the preseason, so Riker Evans was able to come and play with Adam Larson, and we saw that offensive skill on display through all of those games. Does he need to work on the defense still? Yes, it's gotten a lot better these last couple of years, particularly. I feel like this offseason, it's taken a massive leap from where he was at, say, training camp last year to training camp this year. But like I said earlier, in most situations, he would be on the NHL roster right now. It's just because you're still so fresh off that expansion draft. You have so much NHL caliber depth. It's kind of hard to move past that and excel past it. But otherwise, yeah, his offensive game is ready to play right now. He could probably step into a top 4 role running the top unit power play, especially on the Kraken. They could always use somebody to help run that power play. He looked fantastic at that through the preseason. Riker Evans is a stud, and he's going to be for a long time.
Yeah, and I'll let Dylan kind of handle just, the prospect view of it and, gauging how well the player's playing. I agree with the sentiment as far as training camp and seeing him, but we might not see him for a little while just because of the way the contracts are set up. When you bring in Brian Dumoulin on a 2-year deal, you really have 7 guys who are kind of NHL veteran regulars on that roster, with Megna being the scratch every night. And he's probably, too good to be a scratch every night, but that's just kind of where the Kraken are left. So it'll take maybe a couple injuries before we would see Riker Evans at the NHL level.
But Justin Schultz's contract is up at the end of the season, and that seems like the perfect place for Riker Evans to come in. Very similar style player, more offensively minded, all of that kind of stuff. So next year, it already seems like kind of that spot's being held for him.
So you guys are really banking on them kind of I know Justin Schultz wasn't a part of the expansion draft. He was a free agent signing from the Capitals, also played in Pittsburgh, Edmonton. You guys, you're talking about Eberle, Wenberg, Justin Schultz. These guys are gone in your mind. So are the Seattle Kraken like a big time free agent player in the offseason here? Do they go after maybe a Willie Nylander or something like that? What do you think there?
We certainly think they should.
Yeah, they certainly can be. I mean, they'll have the cap space to do it. They'll have those contracts coming off the books. I don't know whether it'll necessarily be a free agent. I mean, for all we know, Nylander could re-sign with the Leafs in the next few months, and that conversation goes away. But I think Ron Francis is in the position where he can absolutely go big game hunting this offseason, and I think he kind of needs to if the team's going to take that next step. So any big names that are out there, particularly forwards, maybe a scoring winger, I think the Kraken are going to be involved in those conversations.
Definitely.
Is there any? Oh, go ahead, Rico. Go ahead. You asked.
One thing I was thinking of before the season started, one guy that was mentioned with the Kraken was Matty Beniers as maybe being like a 2-way player, maybe a future sulky kind of player, but leading the team at -12 and a plus-minus right now and getting, not a ton of points. What do you see from Matt Beniers so far this year, good and bad?
Yeah, so he's definitely a 2-way guy. This is a guy that, even in his draft year, you ask him what he needs to work on, and he was very blunt. He was like, it's my shot. Like, his shot was not NHL ready back when he was drafted. He was drafted on the back of, he models his game after Patrice Bergeron, and he has a lot of that in him. Ron Francis talked about seeing a lot of his game in Matty Beniers, very much built in that 2-way mold. The plus minus, I think, has been a little misleading, as plus minus tends to be for most guys. He is still, just a fantastic defensive forward. What he's able to do. Yanni Gourde's still probably their best guy at that, but Yanni Gourde's just one of the best in the league. But Matty Beniers is right there with him. He's struggling offensively right now. He's never been the offensive point producer. He still helps generate a lot of offense. We're seeing him almost every single game. He gets a 2-on-1 opportunity. It's just been a lot of hitting of the post, a lot of just a pass goes slightly off, or the other guy hits a post. Like, it's been a lot of bad luck that's kept him off the score sheet a little bit more, but I know a lot of people expected more coming off the Calder Trophy and everything like that, but the bottom line is his game has always been to be that more defensive guy. And then if you look at like expected goals percentage, what his lines have been able to do this year has been absolutely incredible. The first couple games that Cartier and he had Eberle on his wing, that line was at 80% expected goals percentage while they were out there through a couple games. Like, they were just absolutely dominating. So again, the numbers don't look good, but if you're watching the games, you're looking at what he's doing, the underlying numbers, it's all still really solid for Matty.
Yeah, and you look at Beniers. I mean, on Money Puck right now. I wanted to pull it up. Good job bringing it up, Dylan. There, but yeah, the Kraken's two of their top three lines by expected goals percentage are the two with Matty Beniers on them, with Cartier and Eberle, and then with McCann and Eberle. They're getting the chances. They're just not finishing on them, and it's not just him; it's his line mates too. And through the first 3 or 4 games, it felt like that line was generating like a 2-on-1 or a couple odd man rushes every single night that they just weren't putting in the back of the net. And I don't think that's going to continue forever, but for the time being, I think Dave Haxtell has also realized that, okay, they're not finishing right now. And if you look at the last game against Tampa, they really played more of a third line role. You had the Gord line, you had the Wenberg line, both playing about 13 minutes of even strength hockey. And then you had the Beniers line at like 7 minutes down, playing less than them. So I think Haxtell is kind of trying to adjust things a little bit, give him a little bit more room, a little bit less pressure, and just some time to kind of find the finishing aspect of his game.
For sure. Makes sense. I mean, last year, Seattle was a 4-line team and they can't match you. Like there was a lot of contributions up and down the lineup last year. A lot of guys getting points, a lot of guys contributing, a lot of guys working with each other. So yeah, no, I'm a fan of Beniers. That's why I brought it up. So I'm sure he's going to cash on what he's been doing on the ice instead on the stat sheet for sure.
Sorry, Dylan. I just have a follow-up about Rico's question with Beniers. He is an RFA at the end of this year, correct?
Yes.
Hard to believe. So I've heard through the rumor mill somewhere in the vicinity of 8.5 is what his camp is asking. I don't know if that's unreasonable to you guys. How is that sitting? And do you think maybe that's affecting his play because they don't have a deal done or they didn't do an extension? I mean, I personally think it probably would have been a little bit preemptive to do an extension before the beginning of the season. But after January, they can do an extension with him, correct? So
they could do it with him now.
Oh, they could do it now. Okay.
Yeah. And Ron Francis, I did ask him about it this summer, and he said it was something that he hoped to get done over the summer. It didn't end up happening, but there's a number of reasons why that might be the case. And I'll let Dylan talk about maybe why it would be good for Matty Beniers to wait. Certainly, if I was his camp, I'd be asking for well over 8.5. I'd be probably asking around that 10 million mark. I think that's probably where my ask would start. I think it'll probably come in around in between 8.5 and 9.5, maybe around the 9 million mark is what I would guess on an 8-year deal if that's what they do. But I think there are some reasons that actually might benefit him to wait.
Yeah, and the first and foremost one being the fact that the salary cap's going to jump, right? Like why lock yourself in now with the lower cap when you could wait a little longer, get the same percentage of the cap, but you're making more money, right? You might as well. So I still think that's probably the thing for him. I think that certainly if you can get him for 8 or 8.5 and you lock him up for 8 years, if you're the Kraken, you have to do that, right? We see it through all the competitive teams around this league. What everybody's trying to do is you're trying to find a center you can build around, and you want to lock them up for as cheap as you can long term. And 8.5 these days would be cheap for that top line center that you're going to rely on, that you're going to have for all prime years, right? You're not really having to worry about that contract aging poorly from his age perspective, because he's going to be like 28, 29 by the time it comes up. So I still think it's in the best interest of the Kraken to try to get something done. If you were Beniers, you were coming off the Calder Trophy, but you probably felt like you could take a step and grow and then wait for that cap hit, the cap to jump the following off season. And I still think that's what him and really a lot of young players are doing.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing Buffalo lock up they're the youngest team in the league, right? And they're locking up their guys for really affordable, good deals. I would just say, as a guy who wants to see Seattle be successful, maybe Ron should show Matty Patrice Bergeron's contract, since he's the parallel, and show him what he was making. What did he make the last year he was in? Like $2 million or something ridiculous. Anyway, I mean, there's a reason Boston stayed competitive, because Marchand took less, Bergeron took less, Chara took less. A lot of those guys took a lot less money. And I think, I think Buffalo is going to be tonight I felt like Philly outplayed them. I think they had 36 to 14 shots, and Buffalo won 5-2. They had an empty netter, but it's like, how it goes in hockey, right?
Yep.
We have a couple of questions in the chat. Andrew Ford asked, does Stamkos make sense for the Kraken?
I don't know, just because of the age. I don't know that he lines up with the rest of their core that well, particularly if he's going to want any sort of term. One thing the Kraken do have is they have a log jam at center as well. So if Stamkos was going to come, you'd have to push him off to the wing most likely for it to make any sense for them, because you've got Matty Beniers. You'll have Wenberg's contract coming off the books, but you've got Shane Wright there to replace him already. That's built in. Shane Wright's looking great at the AHL level. He should be ready next year for that. And then you're still going to have Yanni Gourde. There's not really a space for Steven Stamkos. And then also for Stamkos at his age, when a lot of the Kraken's core is, they're younger. They're still in their 20s. And so I just don't know about that.
Yeah, the term would scare me with that deal. I mean, he'll be 34 by the start of next season, and I just don't think he's going to be any kind of long-term solution. I mean, sure, if he wants to take like a 2-year deal at fairly a lot of money, yeah, give it to him. But I just don't think that's what he's going to be looking for. Certainly not somewhere aside from Tampa.
I personally think he resigns there. Salty asked, do you feel confident in Shane Wright as a top 6 center?
Yeah, I think, is he going to maybe need a year as the third line center to just get used to the NHL and all of that while Yanni Gourde finishes out next season, the last year under his contract? Probably. But Shane Wright, I mean, he's very similar to Matty Beniers and Patrice Bergeron and all these names that we've been throwing around. He is a two-way center. He is a defense-first center. I think he has a much better shot than Matty Beniers kind of ever has. He has more of a scoring touch than Matty Beniers has, but maybe at the expense of playmaking, right? It's all a trade-off. But he's another guy that is defensively responsible. He plays a 200-foot game. He's really, really conscious of that. I'm going to play responsibly. I'm going to play disciplined. I'm going to keep the other team from doing something. We've wanted him to be a bit more aggressive. I think the Kraken wanted him to be a bit more aggressive. We're starting to see that with the Firebirds. If he kind of maintains that with the shot that he has, it's kind of a unique like release and delivery that he has. But with the shot that he has, I mean, yeah, I think he'll be a top 6 center, no problem. And somebody who can, him and Matty Beniers are going to complement each other so well. And the Kraken will have those cornerstones to build around where you have those defensively responsible, still possession driving centers. That's, kind of the hallmark of Stanley Cup champion teams.
I'll basically echo what Dylan said. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I apologize, RJ. You want to see that kid who gave the glare to the Montreal table when he was drafted, right? You want to see that anger level. Go ahead, RJ.
No, he still denies it, but if you ask him about it, he'll still denies that's what he's doing.
He should have owned it. He should have owned it.
Yeah, but no, I mean, just basically echoing what Dylan said. I just think it is going to take some time, and I would caution against expecting too much this season too. We're getting a lot of calls from fans to maybe, okay, they should call him up. The kid's ready. Look at him, going through the defense last night, scoring a big goal for Coachella Valley. He's had some highlight reel goals, but I think they got to stick to this plan with him of keeping him in Coachella Valley at least for the next little while. Don't put that pressure on him in the NHL right away. I just think we need to not even so much temper our long-term expectations, but just be patient with him. I think that's what I'd urge for everyone.
Yeah, not everybody comes right out of juniors and goes right into the NHL and makes it an instant impact. We've kind of been spoiled in this golden age of Crosby, Ovechkin, these guys that come in at 18 years old and score 140 points, just like are ridiculous. And I for one don't mind seeing them mature down in the Always Hungry League, and just tearing it up down there. And look, hey, Coachella Valley came one goal away from winning the whole thing. Mm-hmm. They lost to the Hershey Bears, who are a powerhouse. Yeah. They're kind of a professional team, and I know they're the Capitals farm team. Just in that realm, I know we're Nick Backstrom stepping away. I think he's probably done. Kind of a heartbreaking day for me. I don't want to say I was depressed, but I was pretty sad about it. But I mean, he's kind of been done for the last couple of years. Any thoughts there? The Caps now have $9.5 million in space going forward. So there's.
I know you have some thoughts on the Caps, Dylan.
Yeah, well, I will start with I was also pretty sad to see that from Nicholas Backstrom as well, just because, he's been such a big part of what that Caps team is doing. Before the Kraken and everything, I was a Penguins fan. That rivalry, right, meant so much to me kind of growing up all through my teenage years, through my early 20s, all that stuff. Like, it was just always that rivalry between Crosby,
You mean
Ovechkin.
Sidney Crosby with all his Hall of Famers against Alex Ovechkin?
Yeah, well, he had Backstrom through a lot of that, right? Backstrom's
I
a
don't
pretty
think-
good player.
I will say this: I don't think Backy gets in the Hall of Fame.
Probably not. I'm with you there, but he was still a big part of it. And look, he's a great guy, right? You love seeing all the stuff through
everybody loves
the 24/7 series way back in the day, or the fun commercials with Alex Ovechkin and stuff. And so it is, this is never how you want to see like a storied player's career kind of come to an end. It's not what anybody wants. So yeah, it was a little it was definitely disappointing to see that for the Capitals as a whole. I mean, look, they're basically in the same situation as the Penguins, right? Like, it's just an ancient team kind of having to hold on as long as they can.
I have to cut you off.
Guys.
I completely disagree.
Okay.
The Capitals actually have what they call talent in their farm system, and the Pittsburgh has none. It's null and void. But that's what you get when you're
I didn't say anything about farm systems. I'm talking about the teams on the ice right now in the NHL. Okay, these are both old teams, just hanging on with these superstars for as long as they can, right? Obviously, with Ovechkin, the whole goal is to get him to break Wayne's record. We all know that. I think everybody in the NHL is basically on board with it too. It's just going to be, can they keep enough guys around him to make that happen right now? And just like with things in Pittsburgh, I don't know that they can.
Caps are on a 3-game win streak, Dylan. I don't know what you're watching.
Dude,
it doesn't matter. Their games don't
won
matter.
cups, man.
I was gonna say it doesn't matter what their record is, right? It matters how many goals Ovechkin can get each and every night, right? Like that's the real thing for the Capitals, is it not?
The Caps are not making the playoffs. Not a chance. No way. Not a chance.
Yes.
Not even close to a chance that the Washington Capitals are making the playoffs. Not even close.
Before I ask Perlo if he has anything for you guys related to the Seattle Kraken, because I don't want to go down the Caps. We will talk NHL with you guys, because I do want to get some opinions on some things going around the league. We had two. The Backstrom thing was one of those things. Also, we had Ottawa fire Peter Dorian. Michael Landauer, the owner, came out and said today, hey, I had no idea that we were at a potential of losing a first-round pick. I just spent basically $1 billion. Like, what the fuck? Sorry. So excuse the language, guys. Like, what are we doing here? I was actually quite surprised. Not that Dorian got fired, and I'm gonna miss my favorite meme is him like smacking that cup. I know you guys know it, but before we get to those things, Andrew Ford, he's one of our regulars. He lives in North Carolina, so I think he's a Canes fan. But he was asking you guys, does Pesce or Teravainen make sense for Seattle? Do you guys see either of those guys fitting the bill?
I mean, go for it, RJ.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Pesce, I don't think so. Just because, given where the defense is, the contracts they have, I think you want to give Riker Evans that opportunity to step in. Schultz is going to step away. You're going to have one spot open. I don't think you can really bring in Pesce without moving around a whole lot of other stuff on the blue line. And then Teravainen, I mean, I think they're going to want to aim a little bit higher as far as just production wise, bringing somebody in. I mean, I know, he did have a couple, 60, 70 point seasons a little while ago, but I think they're going to look for, somebody who can put up 30 goals. And that's just something that he's never done.
Yeah, they need that. Adding Teravainen would be adding to more of what they kind of already have. They have 6 guys on this team right now that are 25 goal scorers, making $5 million or more a year. You'd just be adding another one. And one of the problems the Kraken have right now is finding enough places and ice time and everything for all of those guys. They really just need that one guy. The one guy in addition to Jared McCann that you can rely on when you absolutely need a goal, who can go out there and score, or who is going to finish when Matty Beniers creates a 2-on-1 chance. Somebody out there who isn't just going to hit the post, right? They need somebody who's going to actually finish on those opportunities. So, can Teravainen be that player? Yes, but they already have guys like Oliver Bjorkstrand, right? Like it's the same thing.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to be an advocate. No offense to my main man Rico there, who's a big time Leafs fan, for a Willie Nylander Seattle Kraken, just because I would love to see just the chaos that will create in the Toronto media too. I'm sure my boy Nick Kiprios wouldn't be sad on his show either, because it gives them something to talk about, right?
Yes.
So the one thing I love about Seattle is with Jerry Bruckheimer and that ownership group, they've really let the hockey people run it, and it doesn't feel like there's been a lot of drama there. You guys really seem to have your finger on the pulse there. I was a little concerned with the loss of Carson Soucy, but I love the Dumoulin pickup. I think he took a lot of blame for Pittsburgh's defensive woes last year, and I don't feel like he was really the problem. What have you seen in Dumoulin's game? And then I'm going to let Pearlo ask you a few.
You want to take that one first?
Yeah, I'll take this one. So, okay, it's been a little bit of a rough transition for Brian Dumoulin getting used to playing in Seattle, and he had some pretty bad games early on, but I will chalk some of that up certainly to just getting used to a new team in the NHL for the first time in his career, really. He's with the Penguins for the last decade or so, and it takes a while to adjust. I think he has gotten a little better as the season's gone on. That pair of him and Schultz has gotten a little bit less bad. I think I'd still want to see some improvement there. But overall, he's not Carson Soucy. He doesn't fill that hole exactly. But I think there have been more games where he's been, kind of serviceable. And if I can make a quick aside about, because you talked about ownership and, kind of keeping the hands off, letting the hockey people do their thing. It's been great with the Kraken. You get the hands-on ownership when you need it, but not when you don't. And there was a game against the Rangers a couple weeks ago where the light stopped working, and you had the CEO Todd Lywicki up there in the catwalk trying to fix the lights himself. That's hands-on ownership right there. So it's good you have that when you need it, but not interfering in the hockey ops.
I saw that from the intrepid RJ Eskanos' Twitter, the reporter extraordinaire. I saw that.
Always have the phone camera ready to go. Yeah.
That's awesome that you brought that up. Pearlo, go ahead for the boys.
All right. Okay. So I mentioned before the season started that Seattle had a lot of players that were playing at a very high shooting percentage, their career high shooting percentage. So do you think that is something that is sustainable? Would you think that Seattle is able to sustain the amount of goals that they were putting in on a regular basis? Or could you possibly see a correction back to the normal of each one of these players? Like that was Eberle, Jaden Schwartz,
McCann,
Bjorkstrand, McCann. Yeah, that was a lot of players. Is that a concern for you at all?
It was. Before the season started, that was definitely a concern that we had. We talked about it. And one of the things that we talked about was, look, if the Kraken are going to stay at that same level, be a wild card team, be 100-point team, and on all of that, they're going to have to do it a different way. They weren't going to be able to sustain that level of scoring, certainly at least not 5-on-5. We talked about one of the ways that they could do that, and this was for both individual players as well as the team as a whole, was getting better on the power play. Their power play was atrocious through last season. So if they, you supplement some of the 5-on-5 goals you're giving up with some power play goals that are more, just getting the power play up to league average would have added in a decent amount of goals for them last year. So, it's sustainable goal scoring wise, but they were going to have to do it different ways. They're going to have to score on the power play. We mentioned earlier, they lost 44 goals from their fourth line, weren't going to replace it with the fourth line they have this year. But at the same time, they've shored things up on defense. The goaltenders are playing better. They're allowing less goals. The PK, well, it looks a little iffy right now, but has looked fantastic through most of the season. So it's one of those that I still think they can win as many games, but yes, it's going to look different. Their power play is picking up. That's partly why they're winning more games now. And they're just going to have to win games closer to 3-2 rather than 9-8 fiascos like last year.
Yeah, we had a lot of those games with the Kraken scoring 8 or so goals. It's just not going to happen again.
Where is their PK ranked right now?
It's really taking a hit. They're ranked 17th right now.
Okay, could be worse. It could be the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're 27th in the league.
Yeah, no, it could definitely be worse.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because when I was bringing it up, Beard and I kind of went off on each other there for a while. because I said Seattle was not going to make the playoffs, and I did say it was because of their high shooting percentage. But after I talked to Beard, because whenever he disagrees with me, I always have to rethink because he's a great hockey mind. So I went back into the analytics and I came up to the very same thing you said. Like, yeah, like it's very possible that they could do. There was a lot of areas of weakness last year that were covered up by that high shooting percentage, right? So if they were to actually do a lot of those things, like you guys said, improve those things, they wouldn't have to have relied on the shooting percentage. And then I came back and I had to put my tail between my legs and say that I do think that Seattle will make the playoffs. But then Rico was the one that said, how about 5 teams in the Pacific? And he listened to us argue back and forth over and over and over again. He didn't say nothing until the next episode. And then he brings that up. And I was like, yeah, why didn't you just say that before? That would 5
Do you
teams.
guys, before we get into the league stuff, do you feel like that's accurate? I mean, Edmonton is not playing well. I love it. I do. I just absolutely love it. I hate how they tanked for a decade and kept getting handed first round picks and bungling it. And I don't know, their owner's kind of a weirdo. I think, I don't know. It's just kind of the whole thing. And I of course listen to a lot of Canadian media, and I feel like they're delusional of where they're at right now. But LA looks good. The goaltending problems, everybody told me, I wasn't worried. Talbot's looking good. My boy Phoenix Copley's going to come through, buddy. Fellow Alaskan. He's going to come through.
It's been iffy so far.
Rough start, yeah.
Yeah, but LA looks so good now with their defensive depth up the middle. I mean, you're talking about PLD. I just heard a statistic where he's like driving the close to 70% of the play. Like, I was not a fan of him, but he is working in LA under Todd McClellan. You have Anze Kopitar, one of the best two-way Selke winner, and then you've got Philip Deneau, in my opinion, and Rico and I have talked about this ad nauseum. The only reason that Montreal team went to the finals in that bubble cup year was because of Philip Deneau and that defensive forward of Montreal and the way they played. Anaheim looks like they're no pushover. They're winning tonight against Arizona 2-1. I love what they did in Pittsburgh the other day. That was beautiful. Yeah. I watched the highlights of that one a lot. Enjoyed
tied
it.
Up now, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, it is 2-2. Thank you.
Yeah, Logan Cooley, first NHL goal.
Oh, all right. Let's go, Logan Cooley.
Really, that's his first?
Yeah.
Right.
And he hasn't scored yet. In fact, and then Calgary just got back into the game with Dallas too, so that's 4-3. And then I'm trying to keep I don't have the Ducks one on, but so what storylines are intriguing you guys outside of the Seattle Kraken? I know that you have to focus a lot of your energy on the Kraken. RJ, you're there, you're going to the games. Dylan, you're doing what you can do in LA. But it sounds like you're going to Coachella quite regularly too. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And those guys play.
Trying to track that. I try to track all the prospects. I mean, I come with a scouting background, right? So that's still kind of my bread and butter. It's the part of the game I'm most passionate about. So I try to take care of as much of that stuff as possible. But yeah, with the Pacific Division, right? We knew Vegas was going to be Vegas. They're going to be up there at the top. They
look incredible, by the way.
Conclusion, right? LA kind of same thing, right? And look, they have all the depth in the world. It's still a Todd McClellan coach team, so good luck to them in the playoffs. They're going to need it, but they're going to be rock solid through the regular season, especially now that they're finally getting production from their young guys too, right? This is something RJ and I have talked about many times, which was they drafted a lot of really talented young players high, and they hadn't been really producing for them, but they're really finally starting to produce for them. Byfield's on a tear right now. These last couple of games, he's looked fantastic. So we knew Vegas and LA were pretty solidly there. You got to think, just given the fact that they have McDavid and Draisaitl and Nurse and Bouchard and all those guys, Edmonton will figure it out. They're going to. At some point, they will be able to strap a goaltender in net that the puck can hit. I have to believe that it'll happen. So I still think Edmonton's going to be in that mix. Anaheim's not going to be this good. I love that story. I was a Ducks fan as well as a Penguins fan. Aquatic bird teams were my thing before the Kraken. I still love following the Ducks. I especially love what they've been doing through their whole rebuilding process. I love their idea this year of just throwing all the young guys out there with a new coach, try to build a winning culture with them, right? Bench Zegras if you need to. Boy, has he changed his entire game around. He's one of the best defensive centers in the league. Can't score at all. That's what we all expected from Trevor Zegras this year. But still, at the end of the day, Anaheim's not going to stay this good. I don't think that they're going to be a team that's really pushing for things come February and March. Realistically, they're just not quite there. I think for the next decade they will, but not this year. So I still think there's enough runway for the Kraken to be in that 4th and 5th battle in the Pacific. And it's really going to come down to Vancouver. Vancouver's had all these pieces for a while. They've just never been able to put it all together all at the same time, but it seems like they are this year, and each and every game, it seems more and more sustainable. So Vancouver is worrying me in a way I didn't think we were going to have to worry about them at the start of the year.
Yeah, we were pretty skeptical during our division preview there with Vancouver, that they would be able to kind of really compete with the Kraken. I think we were both kind of down on them. They've had an impressive start. I'm still a little bit skeptical that they'll be able to keep it going over a full season. But, if I'm the Kraken, I'm looking at some of the teams ahead of me. I see Anaheim. Okay, well, I'm glad you agree with me, Dylan. They're going to come back down to earth at some point. I know you were higher on them than I was at the start of the season. But, Edmonton's going to figure it out. I still think you have those top 3 teams pretty solidly in the Pacific: Vegas, LA, and then Edmonton. I'm sorry to say that, Jeremiah, but I think Vegas, LA, and Edmonton is those top 3, and then it's going to be a really tough wild card battle, I think, between the Kraken and the Canucks just down the stretch.
So one of the things I like to impart on the people that are coming on here is with NHL Nightly, I'm doing my best to watch as many games as I can, as much as I can. And so I have watched every Edmonton game this year. Easy to watch West Coast games for me, especially, but East Coast games too, because I'm now doing this full time. And I will tell you, Edmonton doesn't have a goaltending problem. They have a team defense problem, and they don't have any good defensemen whatsoever. And if Ekholm is not healthy, which it looks like he started the season unhealthy, they're in big trouble. McDavid is not 100%. And Draisaitl looks like Draisaitl, but I think people are not pushing the panic button in Edmonton because it's Connor McDavid. And yes, they look good against Calgary. Well, guess what? Calgary looks awful.
Everybody does.
I mean, The only team I've seen worse than Calgary this year is San Jose. And quite frankly, San Jose has played with more effort and heart and determination than I've seen from Calgary. Now, Calgary looked pretty solid tonight against Dallas at home. Maybe they put it together. But I hear you. I mean, I know we're counting out Edmonton. Is there anybody that's been a big, other than Vancouver? By the way, Rico and I yesterday, we had our Halloween edition, which unfortunately that won't be uploaded to the website. I'll figure it out, folks. But I was Lebowski, and he was a hockey fan that got wounded by a puck at a game. It was great. Rico made a custom one. Check out the video on the live page. I do want to spotlight your guys' website real quick. I think it's incredible. It's beautiful. You guys have put a lot of work into your show, and you guys are now in year 3?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Year 3. So, guys, if you get a chance, I'm obviously wearing some of their merch. I try to go into their channel as much as I can and chop it up with them. But I'll be honest with you guys. The first week they allowed Kraken games on ESPN, I was ecstatic. I'm like, oh, that's going to be great. And then it went away. So I was like, oh, I'm going to have to find alternate means. So I haven't watched the last, but I did watch the last game. I think I had 5 games going on the other day. But your website is gorgeous. It's emeraldcityhockey.com, all one word. Now, there's a special event this year in Seattle, the Winter Classic. What are you guys doing special? You're doing meetups. I know you guys used to do the Queen Anne's Bar meetups and stuff. What's going on? What's Emerald City doing? What are you doing for the Kraken fans?
All right. So, the Winter Classic's going to be a great time. Dylan already has his travel booked up here for Seattle. So he's going to be here for the Winter Classic and the days, before and after. So he'll get to see everyone. It's tough because as far as specific events, we're still kind of waiting for the league's actual schedule of events to come out. So we can kind of work around that. We know at some point there's going to be some kind of like media skate on the ice there at T-Mobile Park. We know there's going to be other events kind of surrounding the Winter Classic. We just don't know what and when exactly. And so as soon as that schedule comes out, we're hoping fairly soon we'll get some of our events really nailed down. We're definitely going to have some kind of meetup. We're going to have some kind of event where everyone can hang out with Dylan and I. But I'm sorry, we just don't know yet because we're waiting for the league schedule to come out.
Fair. I promise you, one of these days I'm coming down. If I have to take a military air, so as a military retiree, I can fly, space available. And there's a lot of flights from Lewis McChord. And I have tons of family in Seattle, so I can just sleep on their couch. Like, it's not a big deal. Plus, Dylan, you live right by the rink, right? So, I could just crash on your couch, right? So, I'm sorry, Dylan, you live in RJ. I could.
Not anymore. I actually moved a little bit further out now because, I had to switch apartments. So it's a little bit of a drive now.
Okay. Which is not fun in Seattle.
No, right? Hey, it's better than where I came from.
I was just going to say, as the person in Southern California, okay, when Seattle complains about their 30 minutes of traffic, I just laugh.
It's really not that bad.
You have the same horrible traffic. So I want to try to get down there. No promises. I am actually heading to Toronto next week for the Hockey Hall of Fame. Several former Caps are getting in. Peter Bondra and Adam Oates, and also Joe Nieuwendyk, who I was fortunate enough to meet at the Frozen Four, which, guys, I'm going to go again to the Frozen Four. I went in Tampa last year. I highly recommend it. I met Kyle Dubas. I met Joe Nieuwendyk. I met Mike Richter. I heard Mike Eruzione was there. Mike Eruzione, excuse me. I'm so disappointed I didn't get to meet him. But that is such a great 2 days of hockey. And I inadvertently met the Minnesota coach. I happened to be in this bar eatery, and there was a group of Minnesota fans, and he was at the head of the table, and I didn't know it was him. And I said, I thought you guys got a little lucky. You better watch out for Quinnipiac. They're pretty defensive, and they lost the game. All the fans came and he goes, did you know that was the head coach? I go, no, I had no idea. So it's good. I guess when I start doing this media thing full time, I better get pictures and know who the hell I'm talking about, right? I did call Joe Nieuwendyk Dave Andre Chuck by accident too, but he was cool about it. We were in Tampa, so he looks like he could still play. I don't want to take any more of your time because I know Dylan has some stuff to do. I so appreciate you guys. It feels like it's been 18 months since we had you on last.
Yeah.
I'd like to do it one more time in the season, but I know you guys' schedule is busy. Just maybe towards the end before the playoffs or something, we'll do a little check-in if you guys are game. Also would always gladly come on anytime. I'm spending my time learning how to write and read again, things that I forgot how to do. Because the goal is to do a little traveling reporting, but we're doing this show Tuesday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, and just talking about the games that were played that day. Perlo, we've got the Edmonton guy. Edmonton is like the hub right now. Everybody's put all this Stanley Cup pressure on them, but he's also a gambler, and you study the analytics a lot. And then Rico is my man in Ontario. It almost feels like if you don't have somebody in Ontario, but he's great. And he's also our beer league correspondent. You got to have a little bit of beer league talk.
Definitely.
We're just kind of keeping it. We want to talk about our lives and our families and stuff too. So it's a thing, but I really appreciate you guys coming on. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Do you have anything for us? And then if not, I'll let you go and we'll carry on. But again, I really appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, I'll let RJ do all the self-promotion. I'll just say thank you again so much for having us. Always looking forward to spending time talking hockey with you. It's also nice to be able to talk about some stuff that isn't just the Kraken all the time for a change. That's really refreshing. And yes, definitely we'll come back on. Anytime you want to talk prospects, hit me up. Anytime you want to talk trade stories, because just like I remember watching you on Twitter at the Frozen Four, I was very jealous. I've always wanted to go to one of those. Very jealous,
It's
but
really
yes,
cheap. It's not expensive.
I know. And anytime you're there, right? Hockey is one of those just small communities where you do run into all those. I've been to a couple drafts. I've got some stories I can tell you, I could share with everybody at some point. We can trade all that good stuff. I will just leave it at this. Nathan McKinnon bus crash.
Okay.
Tease that.
Okay. Yes. Nice. No, Dylan, for sure. So I put your Twitter handle for the Emerald City Hockey in there, but RJ Eskanos at RJ Eskanos ECH, correct? And at Dylan Travers, but yours is at Yelling at the Ref, I believe. Yes. Which, ban offsides, by the way, NHL. Let's get rid of the offsides review. I'm so tired of it. It's ridiculous.
I got one more question.
Yeah.
Who's got the best shootout move on the Kraken?
RJ, go for it.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So yes, I get to make my case here. I tweeted this today. So it's down to one of three guys, but you know what? The Kraken's ideal shootout lineup. And again, I've watched these guys for over 2 years, like every practice, every morning skate. They practice this stuff all the time. Their shootout lineup should be Jamie Alexiak, Adam Larson, Will Borgen.
I saw
those
you
three
tweet
defensemen.
I saw you tweet that yesterday.
And I'm not kidding. I mean it. They have sneaky good hands, all three of them. And I tweeted with the video of Alexiak doing this awesome, like kind of, fake toe drag backhand move today at practice. And I've seen him pull that out multiple times. He's got that in his bag. Adam Larson, like he's shown some of his brilliance, the occasional breakaway that he will get. He can deke a goalie out of his skates. And then Will Borgen, I talked to him about it too. Like his shootout move. He's like, yeah, I just kind of see what the guys who are best at and just copy what they do. And you know what? He copies them well. They should have those three guys. I know they're all like defensive defensemen. Those should be their shootout shooters. Great question. And thank you for giving me the chance to answer that. I will keep on this. I've been saying this for years. Hackstall has not listened to me yet. I mean, I don't fully blame him. Like, who am I? But yeah, they've got to do that in the shootout at some point.
Well, and I expect a Todd Wiki light changing t-shirt from you guys. You have to make that. That is your claim to fame. When I saw that, I was like, that is awesome. And also, I mean, RJ, you're so good at paying attention to the details, man. You're a great Twitter follow. And, I wanted to get into this Kraken thing and do a Kraken thing. And I'm like, no, these guys are doing way too good a job. Like, there's no way. I'll just do something else, much more broad stroke, yeah, I mean, you guys are awesome, man. I really appreciate it. It's, I hope you guys legitimately can make some real money doing this because you're really pros and I love what you guys are doing and we'll continue to sing your praises to everybody I know that if you're into the Seattle Kraken, you got to be an Emerald City Hockey fan. They're awesome. So thank you again, guys. I really appreciate your time. Anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having us on.
I hope one day I can be as positive about the Edmonton Oilers as you are with the Kraken. I'll tell you that.
I can be as positive about the Oilers as I am about the Kraken.
Maybe one day.
It's not just you, yeah.
All right, fellas. Thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good one.
Take care.
I'll let you guys exit yourself so you can go at your own leisure. Okay, man. So yeah, those guys are such good guys, man. And I didn't want to keep them too long. Dylan had asked me, how long is it going to be? I think he was fine with 3 hours. Maybe we have an extended long one. Dylan scouted. RJ's a full-time reporter with credentials and goes to the games. And so these are the people I want to have on are legit hockey people. These guys are down in the dirt, created their own thing, and they're working their butts off. So I recommend to everybody. Jay, I know you had a lot of questions and stuff. We'll have nights where we do with a lot of that, but really for the night. We want to talk about games that are going on, or if we have a special guest. Tomorrow's special guest is John Duncan from Off the Wall Hockey. We're going to talk Bruins, how they never seem to fall off. So right now, as of currently, we have 2 games left, 3 games left. I have 4-3 Dallas over Calgary, and I have 2-0 Colorado. That second Colorado goal, I was really surprised counted. It was happening when we were going on. And looks like it's all knotted up in Arizona at 2-2. And then tonight, I watched the Buffalo get a win against the Flyers, but they got outshot heavily. They were kind of lucky to get out of Philly with a win, but they did. The 5th goal is an empty net. So
and the World
Colorado
Series is all but over.
Huh?
And the World Series is all but over, man.
Oh, is it over? Is the World Series over? Where are we at there?
Over.
5-0 Rangers in the bottom of the 9th. Okay.
This all happened in the top of the 9th, man. The guy hit it to the outfield, and Alec Thomas totally missed picking the ball. It rolled past him almost to the wall and scored 2 extra runs. Like, Chapman came in. Like, Bruce Bochy has used his bullpen unbelievably because they fucking stink, man.
Dude, he's one of the best managers ever. I mean, he won Spicy 4K action. Game is in Anaheim. Yes, the game is in Anaheim. I'll tell you what, I am uber impressed with the Arizona Coyotes this year. And another team that I think is going to compete in the Central.
Yeah. I like the Yotes tonight in Anaheim, but I also like Calgary against Dallas too. And Dallas is up 4-3.
So did I. You were on the same thing, Rico. I had the over on that too. I already got the over. But
you got the over.
Here was my card today. I had Avalanche minus 0.5 first period. Plus 110.
Okay, that happened.
I already got that. Avalanche reg minus 150 for 5 units. Looks good. Avalanche minus 1.5. Coyotes ML. Sabres ML. Sabres Flyers over 6.5. Blues team total under 2.5. Flames ML might not get that, and the over. So I'm looking at about a 8-2 night tonight. Looking good.
So Jay says those are awesome, Perlo, by the way. Yeah. When we don't have guests, I'll have you lead off with your picks. Because I was looking at them and I was like, oh man, these all look good. I was gonna try to put in some fantasy bets, but didn't get there.
Oh, when you got guests like that, you got to celebrate those guys. Those guys are fantastic. Those guys are great.
Yeah, tomorrow Vegas. Oh yes, yeah. The RJ and Dylan are good guys. Yeah, tomorrow Vegas plays as well. Like you said yesterday, you want to see something from the bottom 6 in Winnipeg team. Let's see if that happens. Yeah, Jay, we'll see where they go.
Tomorrow.
I think Winnipeg will have a chance there. No. So what is that? What is the World Series on? Is that on? Oh, it's over. It's over. They won.
By the way, Rico, you wanted to know what my my costume was last night?
Yeah, because you got dragged away for, you did a good deed, and it looks like your wife needed you for the night. That was it?
That was it.
He's a betting cowboy.
You wearing the same clothes that you were wearing?
I told you I wasn't even. Yeah, I didn't. There's no way I said yes to that. No way.
Hey, Perlo.
I don't like Halloween parties. There's no way. She conned me into going, and I went.
Yeah. So good move. Good move. How many times you been married?
She must have asked me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good move, buddy.
After the first 2, it's like, yeah, I agreed to that. Yeah. Okay. Pretty sure no, but okay.
You didn't miss much, man. There was only a couple games on last night, so.
Yeah, I know. I'm just not a big party guy anymore. So I had as good a time as I could, though.
I sawed a puck in half and glued it to a helmet that had beers on the side of it, and I had a puck in my head.
I saw that. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah. I was like a fan at the outdoor game, drinking beer out of a hat, and got hit with a puck in the face.
Yeah, I didn't even consider trying to go to the Winter Classic because we're doing a trip in February, and then I mean, Seattle Kraken tickets are the second highest in the league. And I was like, well, even if they're playing at Seahawks Stadium or whatever, where there's 50,000 seats, it's going to be so spendy. But I have yet to see them do this, and I would love to see them do this at these football stadiums or baseball stadium, whichever one they're doing it at, is like elevate the arena to where it's on the same level as the first row seats. Because in football, the field is down, right? And everybody looks down on the field. But in hockey, everybody's down. But, if you sit you're basically at ice level if you're in the front row, right? Mm-hmm. If you sit in Toronto, you're at ice level. If you sit at, Climate Pledge Arena and you're on the boards, unless you're behind the bench or something. But if you're you're down on the level with the players, not unlike the NBA, except for you just have the protective glass and boards and all that stuff. So,
yeah. What about having an outdoor game in Alaska, man, around the mountains and shit?
That'd be cool.
They could do it, man. They could do it. They just have to figure it out. I mean, all the lakes freeze up here. Like, they wouldn't even have to make their own ice, really. They could do it that way where they just come in and Zamboni like a thing. It would be cool. I keep hearing like Lake Louise and Canada and stuff. I know they want to do that. They tried to do the one at Lake Tahoe, but they actually had the rink off to the side and stuff. I don't know. I mean, that also was going on when the fans really couldn't be there and stuff. So,
well, and that one melted too. It was warm in Lake Tahoe, I think.
It's Nevada, California. You know, they don't typically have really long, dangerous winters or anything like that. So, yeah, we got 5 minutes left in this Dallas Calgary. I don't know what to say about the Leafs yesterday. Boy, nobody could say anything nice about them. They looked terrible at home. One of the worst games. Sammy said one of the worst games in a long time. And as far as St. Louis, they're playing good defensive hockey, but they're not scoring at all. And Bennington's actually looked really good, but they just aren't scoring. So they're in trouble. They just are. They're in full on. Oh yeah, you're good, Rico. I'll take you off for a second here. But hey, Pearlo, good to have you back. I don't know what happened. Your camera's fixed. You're coming in clear. You look better than the last time. You look as good as you've ever looked on the show. Yeah, guys, I'll try to give you as much prep time with the guests and stuff so you have questions formulated, because I don't want to be the only one talking. But tonight I was like, I knew where these guys would want to go, so I didn't want to dominate it, but I kind of felt like I'm a fan of their stuff, so I try to watch and listen to them. But Pearlo, good move going to the Halloween party with your wife, and honestly, kind of fun to have a Halloween. Kind of surprised it wasn't over the weekend,
because that's when you know. Yeah, I couldn't say no. Oh, yeah, well, normally it would be too, right? I couldn't say no, but I mean, she normally wouldn't kind of do it that way. So if she's doing it that way, it means she really, really, really wanted me to go. So, yeah.
Go. No, good call going.
It was a Filipino party, and so they like to have their actually Halloween for them would be today in the Philippines.
Okay.
Not yesterday. So they do it the day before that what they would normally do it. So it's actually on the day. So that's the reason why. But
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so we'll hang out. We'll hang out till the end of the Dallas Calgary game. Is there anything you
well, we haven't talked about Ottawa yet. Dorian.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Ottawa Senators?
Well, they really couldn't do anything like that whole thing that happened with Dodonov. I think that was just they have to give up a first round pick. I don't know exactly how he screwed that up, but he said he's a Filipino what?
He says, Perlo, I'm Filipino. I thought Philippines celebrated Halloween on October 31st.
No, that's what she told me. It was November 1st that they
I
do
don't know.
the same day.
Get Rico back in here. Yeah, so my thought process was, isn't the Philippines on the other side of the international date line?
That's why. Yeah.
And wouldn't it be
That's
actually
right.
October 31st
It would
today?
be, yeah, exactly. That's it. I never even thought about it.
That was
now.
my thought process. What you said made
That's right.
total sense.
Yeah.
So-
Exactly. That's what it is. They're October. Right. It's because it's on the other side.
Yeah. So, yeah, and just for the fans in the chat, like, I really appreciate the interaction, and I love the questions for our guests, but sometimes the games and the guests are going to take over the production of the show. And because I produce and edit and do everything on my own, and Rico and Perlo are just strictly hosts, that's why I want more from them. I want them to talk more. It allows me to do, like, update the scores and do all that stuff. Still 2-2 in the Ducks Yotes game, and halfway through the Avalanche Blues game, 2-0 Avs. That's on TNT. And then we're about 3 minutes left in the Dallas Calgary game, but Calgary's look good tonight, man. From what I've seen from them, they obviously pound a lot of shots anyway. They have 42 shots on net, so Ottinger has like 39 saves. They're on the power play with 40 seconds left to go in 3 minutes, so they could get the equalizer here. I know Connor Zary scored for them tonight. Oh, he just rung one off the post, off the crossbar.
Zary did? He already scored one tonight, eh? Zary.
So, Jay, are you in Edmonton? So Jay goes, Perlo, the next time you go to a Filipino party, invite me. I can talk to them in their Tagalog.
Are you in Edmonton, Jay? Is
Jay,
is he in Edmonton?
Yeah, Jay, I don't know where you are, but Perlo's in Edmonton, so you could reach out to him on Twitter and maybe exchange numbers.
Rico, do you think DJ Smith gets fired now for sure?
Probably. I mean,
if they miss the playoffs,
it makes sense that Dorian was fired. Like, I feel bad for the new management that they just got the rug pulled out from under them. That all of a sudden they find out this whole Dadnaw situation. Like, what's a first round pick worth these days in the salary cap era? Like what's it worth, man? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I mean, yeah, Dorian should be gone. I mean, I don't know if DJ Smith has anything to do with it, but
I don't think it's because of that. I just think new ownership, Dorian hired Smith. They're not really doing all that great. Like, I would say that the noose is getting pretty tight with DJ, right? Do you agree, Beard?
So here's what I think. I think he's going to be given the remainder of the season. And I think if they miss the playoffs, he'll be fired. So I think if they're on the outside looking in here come like January, you could see him get fired. I don't think he's been the problem there. I just think they have the Foreman thing. I just think they've been kind of a badly run organization. And I hope Landauer goes in there, gets the downtown arena. I think that is key. And they lost $40 million last year, guys. This is reported. Like, that is not a sustainable thing. The fact they went, like, I thought they should have done everything they could to get Ryan Reynolds and that group in there, because you have a guy like, people are going to go to the games that don't care about hockey. Who cares? You're getting people in the building because the owner is, Deadpool. I just feel like, but Landauer seems like he's really committed. He sounds like a smart business guy. He is a Canadian guy, right? So I think that probably makes the fan base feel a little bit easier. But look, it's not sustainable for Ottawa and what's happening in Winnipeg for those franchises to hang on if they're continuing to lose money. So, like Gary, by the way, the commish was on Pat McAfee's show today. He knows when to strike when the iron's hot. And I saw a guy in the Flyers game wearing a For the Brand behind Brian Boucher. Like, hockey attendance in the States is up, guys. People are going for whatever reason. People are going to the games because I think because it's back on. TNT a really accessible network. It's basically a part of every basic package. So if you just have that, you get the TNT. And ESPN is like $9 a month. And if you pay for the Hulu package, you get ESPN Plus, Hulu, and Disney Plus for like $13 a month with ads. So like you can get all three of that. And if you have ESPN Plus, you get all the hockey games unless it's a regional blackout. So, but Vegas solved that by coming up with their own network. And you could, for all the people that live in Vegas, they can pay like $60 a year and watch all the Vegas games so they don't have to go. And the Arizona Coyotes just put their stuff on ABC, on the local ABC. Get an antenna. They're telling their fans how to get an antenna because the Bally Sports. So if you guys didn't know, Bally Sports took over basically the Fox Sports that owned most of the hockey ones. A good deal of them. Some of them are still up. Some of them are still running. Like Dallas is still Bally Sports. Tampa is still Bally. Detroit still Bally. The Capitals were Comcast, but they were under the NBC Sports Washington. They now have formed their own Monumental Sports. That's Leonsis' company. So they're doing their own broadcast stuff now. Pittsburgh is doing their own broadcast. They have Pittsburgh Sportsnet Pittsburgh. They're calling it Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Obviously, Seattle Root Sports is their own regional. That's a remnants from Fox back in the day when it was Fox Sports Northwest, and then it became Root Sports when DirecTV bought all the Fox Sports ones, or they bought some of the tougher ones. So it's real crazy with all the stuff. So Pearlo was so Jay has a lot for you. Pearlo was my go-to when the Golden Knights got in trouble in the playoffs 2 years ago. I have his Twitter and the message him already out there before. Okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
Jay said he's been in touch with
Jay, I used to have a show on my own that I did in the afternoons, and Jay was a regular. Yeah.
Nice. I appreciate him being here because of you. Tomorrow's games, we've got, you guys want to preview tomorrow's games before this? Looks like Edmonton hurts. Calgary's going to lose. I think the final's going to be 4-3 here. Yep. That's the end of that game. Yep. 4-3. Calgary wins or loses. Tomorrow's games, we've got, let me make sure I'm going through all the 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock games. So we got a big slate tomorrow. We've got 1, 2, 3. Oh, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games tomorrow.
Wow.
Full slate. Will be on probably long time. I've got Caps, Islanders. I've got Hurricanes, Rangers, Kings, Senators, Lightning, Blue Jackets, Panthers, Red Wings, Maple Leafs, Bruins. By the way, the one time Toronto goes to Boston, Rico. And I believe Boston comes to Toronto twice this year. Devils, Wild, Stars, Oilers. That's going to be an interesting one. Canadians, Coyotes, Jets, Golden Knights, Predators at Seattle, and the Canucks, Sharks. So Rico and I were talking yesterday. We'll go through each game if you'd like before we get out of here. But Rico and I were talking. The Canucks are fun to watch, man. They are a fun team to watch, and they have been real enjoyable. I don't know. Did you get to watch any of that game yesterday? I know you were doing the party. They looked really good.
I didn't get to watch much games yesterday, but I did have the Canucks to win yesterday. So
Pettersson had a hat trick, and I love. They asked Rick Tocchet in the media scrum, how did you think about his game? He had a hat trick, and he goes, yeah, well, he turned the puck over too much. It's like, dude, Tocchet's got a good feel for this team. He's not going to let them slack off, and I think they really have. They've got a grade A defenseman in Quinn Hughes. They've got good defensive depth with Susie now in the mix. I really like Philip Ronick. That ends up being a really good move for them. And one thing you could say about Jim Rutherford, he's not afraid to make trades and get stuff. Now they're up against the cap and stuff, but JT Miller's balling out. So you guys want to go through these games and then call it, or do you just want to call it?
Sure. No, we can go through the games. Why not?
Well, let's go. Islanders Caps. What do you think of that one? Caps are plus 110, so the Islanders are the favorite. I'd probably
What do you
go
got, Rico?
Rico's getting a
Oh, okay.
refill.
No, yeah.
You getting a refill there? Okay.
Well, there's a lot of games that can go either way tomorrow. I think like the only games that you have a definite winners at Tampa, at Columbus, and Vancouver, at San Jose. Other than that, the Islanders and the Caps? Is that what you started with?
I'm going to take Columbus at plus 142. I like Columbus at home against Tampa Bay. I haven't liked Tampa Bay's game this year. They've been really wildly inconsistent. Now, I know Seattle just beat them for the first time, but I take the Blue Jackets at a plus 142. I think that's a value pick. I don't know, Perlo, I know you're not big on the Blue Jackets, but Tampa's a little banged up. They got the backup goalies, no Vasilevsky back yet. I don't know. They just don't. They're not. They're 4-2-3, and the Blue Jackets are 3-4-2.
It makes sense, especially. Well, what's the price on that? Like it's pretty high, right?
Plus 142 on the Jackets. You put $10.
I mean, the value is on Columbus there for sure.
Yeah,
they're being way undervalued at that price. I would say. I'm not playing Tampa at minus 160. That's for sure.
Yeah,
especially
if I'm putting money on that game, I'm betting the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, we already talked to Islanders Kraken. Here's an interesting one. Hurricanes 6-4 against the New York Rangers. By the way, I think it's clear that the hire of this offseason was Laviolette. He's got the Rangers are 7-2. They look good. They're minus 118. The Hurricanes are minus 102. It is at MSG. I will say this, though, to caveat bet in this game. Boy, Carolina looks like a different team with Svechnikov back in the lineup. So,
what do you got, Rico? I got
that's a statement game for Carolina, and I'm gonna take the Hurricanes to go in there and win. I think they're just gonna assert dominance in that division tomorrow. If they lose to that game, that's a big setback for Carolina. They'd
be 6-5, and the Rangers will be 8-2. And the Rangers are, man, I tell you what, Mike Fiore was in here the other day, noted Rangers fan, and I've been real impressed with the Rangers game. And you're starting to see it from Lafreniere. You're starting to see these younger guys step up. I mean, they still have one of the best defensemen. I love their defensive core. Honestly, they kind of have an underrated defensive core. But Fox is up there. He's a Norris winner. You put him up with anybody. You've got Keandre Miller, big fan of him. And then, you got the big banger and Jacob Trouba. Okay, Panthers, Red Wings. That's an interesting one. Red Wings.
I didn't do the pick there. Let me do my pick on that.
Oh, go. Sorry, Perlo. Go. You guys are both off screen, by the way.
That's okay.
No, you guys are off your screens. You guys are off center. You got
what?
There you go.
Oh, I'm off center.
Slide to your right. There you go. Slide to your left, Perlo.
There we go. Sorry about that.
World Series post game.
Anyways, the Rangers are in a bad spot. That's the reason why I like Carolina there. They're coming off a Western road trip where they just played 5 games out west.
And then they come
home. Then they come home. Yeah, they won all 5. They come home. They have Halloween with the kids and everything. And you know what I mean?
I don't think you need the Halloween excuse, but they're coming off the road
trip.
No,
but it breaks up the momentum. And then they play a team like Carolina that needs this win. And then they got to go back out to Minnesota right after this. I don't like that spot. So I got to go with Carolina. I do. The Rangers are doing more than I ever expected so far this year. I agree. I've changed my mind with them. Laviolette is doing a wonderful job with them, but I don't think this game is for them. I don't think they get this one.
Kings Senators. Ottawa's at home. They're a minus 108. Kings are minus 112. I like the Kings in that one easily. What about you guys?
Rico?
I think with everything going on in Ottawa, either they're going to come out flat or they're going to come out winning. So that almost feels a little bit like a high scoring game for me. Yeah. So I think I would just stick with the over there.
I already got 5 units on the over on that game. I already put it in. I like the over.
All right. Okay. We already talked Blue Jackets Lightning. How about Red Wings Panthers?
They're in Florida.
They're in Detroit.
Oof.
Detroit's the favorite at -102. The Panthers are -118. Again, these are all DraftKings odds through Bleacher Report. So you guys might, there's so many books now. You might get different odds. I'll always want to take. You guys aren't touching that game?
That's a tough one that can go either way.
With Ekman Larson being hurt, I'm going to lean Detroit on that one. They've just been running pretty good for right now, and that would be.
If it was in Florida, I might lean Florida, but in Detroit, they'll have the line matchups, and like you said, the Ekman Larson injury. I think, yeah.
I take Detroit. I'd probably go the over on that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so just taking the over on the Panthers, Red Wings. Red Wings have actually struggled the last couple of games to put the puck in the net, so I don't know there. Like, that's kind of interesting to me. I would stay away from that game, honestly. But Panthers have been way better than I expected them to be with the injuries they've had. So they're 4-3-1. I think they're going to be right there in the Atlantic. Everybody seems really mediocre except for the Boston Bruins, who are 8-0-1. They host the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are 5-3-1.
No McAvoy.
Boston is the favorite at -118.
No McAvoy because he got suspended for 4 games.
Yeah, 4-game suspension for Charlie McAvoy. What do you think, Rico?
I like the Leafs. Okay. Bounce back game after they fell asleep against the Kings. They're going to be ready to roll against.
They looked awful. But again, they were just coming off a long road trip too. I didn't really think much of that Leafs game. Like, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in that game. I didn't see really anybody play a great game. Knies maybe. What do you think, Pearlo? You got anything for that one, or are you going to stay away?
No, I'm going to go. I don't know who's going to win the game. I don't trust the Leafs right now. I really wish they would get rid of Sheldon Keefe, but I'm going to go something weird here. I'm going to take draw first period. I think this is
okay. Draw first period.
Slow first period. I think both teams are going to be feeling each other out. Without McAvoy, Boston's not going to want to get too cray-cray offensively. So I like to draw first period. And then after that, honestly, it's really it's a coin flip. I'm probably staying off the side. Maybe the under would be a good one. I don't know what is, especially if it's a 6.5. I like the under in that game.
Okay, under in the Bruins Leafs. I was gonna say under 2. Wow, St. Louis just scored 2-1. Robert Thomas. So 2 minutes left to go in the second. It's 2-1. Colorado. Again, Colorado did not look good against Buffalo, and they did not look good against Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh hasn't looked good against anybody this year except for the Capitals. So, Stars Oilers in Edmonton, and the Stars are a +110. And Edmonton is -130. I like the Stars at +110. You have to be kidding me. The way Edmonton is 2-5-1, the Stars are 6-1-1. They have one regulation loss. There's no way. I think Dallas goes in there and smacks them around.
I like the Oilers. Are your Stars on a back-to-back? Did Ottinger start tonight in Calgary?
Yeah.
I like Edmonton.
Yeah.
I like Edmonton too.
I like Edmonton too, but remember, I'm never right about my team ever. So it's probably,
it's fine.
So you're probably right, Beard, because whenever I take Edmonton, they lose.
I just always love to take how I'm feeling, and what I've seen from Dallas on the ice is the only game I thought they laid an egg again this year was against Toronto at home. And I think they were coming off a road trip. That's just a veteran team with a lot of really good young guys mixed in. We're not seeing the sophomore slumps from Wyatt Johnston, and Harley looks good. They just play so much better defensively. DeBoer's got those boys humming. I don't like anything from Edmonton right now. Canadians Coyotes tomorrow in Arizona. Of course, Arizona's playing tonight, and they are in Anaheim, so they'll be coming back, but that's not really that long a trip. That's probably less than an hour flight from Anaheim to Phoenix. So Habs are plus 110, so they're the under, and Coyotes minus 130. I'll tell you what, Habs are 6-2-1. I have just loved everything. The Habs getting plus money. I like the Habs in that game. Just the way they played. The last game I saw them play against Vegas, they ended up losing, but they dominated. They lost in overtime, but it was like I think they outshot Vegas like 35-15 or something. It was unbelievable how well they looked. Marty St. Louis got those boys playing, and they're not getting contribute. The other thing about Montreal is they're not getting anything from Slafkovsky. They're not getting anything from Suzuki's look good. Oh, dang. I think we just had a check from behind in the Colorado game. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, that's definitely a hook. I don't know.
No, yeah.
By the way,
Colorado, St. Louis has a power play now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what the St. Louis player did wrong. Why Manson got so heated up anyway, that was odd. Okay. What do you guys feel about Canadians Coyotes?
I'd probably call it a draw. It's going to be low scoring. Maybe not low scoring. I don't know. I have a hard time on that game too.
I mean,
I agree with Beard. I think Montreal pulls that one out. Yeah. They're on a roll right now. They're feeling good about themselves. Especially if the Coyotes win this game. If the Coyotes win this game, I definitely like Montreal tomorrow at plus money.
Yeah, just a back-to-back too, where you have to travel back home to, like, is a thing.
Yeah,
even though
if they lose it, there might be a little more juice in the tank. But if they win it, yeah. But I agree with Rico. I would put a little bit on the draw and a little bit on Montreal. So the only thing you don't want is for Arizona to win in regulation. And I think that's a pretty good chance that they don't. So
Jets Golden Knights. And our friend Jay he's a Golden Knights fan. He's chimed in a bunch. Jets are the underdog plus 140. It's in Vegas. Vegas is not lost in regulation 8-0-2. I have to say I like Vegas. Pearlo.
I agree.
Rico, are you good or
Vegas all day in regulation? Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take him off.
It's a bad spot for Winnipeg.
We're just gonna. Oh, he's back. Okay. All right, Rico, what do you got in the Vegas Jets game?
I'll take the Golden Knights.
Yeah. That would be a huge win for Winnipeg if they won it, but
yeah,
I don't think they do.
Yeah, I'm with both of you guys. Sharks host the Canucks. Sharks are 0-8-1. Canucks are 6-2-1. I don't want to spend any time on this game. It's going to be the Canucks.
Yeah. Easy pick.
You're not betting. I'm not betting the Sharks all year long. Pretty much. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean they're going to win a game eventually. I thought it was going to be in my Capitals the other day, but they scored 3 third-period goals, so that helped out. There's been no lack of effort. I think David Quinn's got those boys humming. They just have no talent. They're basically an AHL team right now.
Yeah.
They just don't have any high-end talent. They can't hang. And until they get Logan Couture back, they don't really have a top center, so it's going to be interesting. Predators in Seattle. Preds are the underdog, plus 105.
Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Preds are 4-5-0, and Seattle's 3-5-2.
I believe the Preds have been on the road in the West for quite a while. No.
Yeah, they played in Vancouver last night. It got smoked. But they were in the game for most of the game. I'm going to take the Preds on that one at plus 105. I think that's a value pick. I do think they've been playing okay hockey. They're just not getting a ton of secondary scoring yet. That's the last game of the night. What you guys both said Seattle. I wanted to talk about this conversation before we go, and I should have done it with Dylan and RJ on here. If you're in charge of a team like the Flyers or the Golden Knights aren't playing the Avalanche tomorrow, Jay. We'll talk about that game tomorrow. We're just previewing tomorrow's games. We'll preview Friday's games tomorrow.
That's gonna be a great game, man.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to watch that one. We'll be on that. We'll be live for that game for sure. Avalanche and Vegas for sure. If you're the GM of the Philadelphia Flyers, what do you do? Like, you don't want to make the playoffs. They look really good.
Zona just scored.
I'm going to take you off. There's something going on.
Arizona just scored.
Oh, did Arizona make it 3-2? Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kraus. Yeah, Arizona can't lose to Anaheim. I love Anaheim. I love their thing. But Arizona's a legit team now with legit young guys. That Michelli, man, what a pass. Right in front, Lawson Kraus.
I have Michelli for an assist too, I believe, so that's good. Okay. But yeah, if I'm Philadelphia, what do you do as far as like tanking? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, but like you want to trade like Couture, or do you want to get rid of some of these guys that are helping you win so you can kind of start the rebuild, or like?
Oh, if I'm San Jose, yeah, you just.
But San Jose doesn't have anybody that anybody wants. The only thing I could think.
Couture. Oh, Couturier. Oh,
okay.
Sorry, you said Couture. You meant Couturier in Philadelphia.
Yeah, Sean Couturier in Philadelphia, I would trade.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I think Philadelphia. When you have a Tortorella there, you don't need what you normally need to do well. They're like, and Tortorella won't stand for it. He's gonna say, look, we're gonna be the best we can be. Get a scouting staff to get as many players as you can. Don't worry about it. I don't need much. They're gonna get. I think they're gonna grab some free agents next year. I don't think this is gonna be the rebuild everybody thinks it is gonna be for them.
I feel the same way. I think if you get rid of Couturier, you're going to be looking for leadership like Couturier on a rebuilding team. And the guy was drafted there. He's been through so much in and out of injury. Finally coming back. Like, if you get rid of him, man, he's the heart and soul of that team right now.
It's going to take the spirit right out of that organization.
Yeah,
no. I just don't think.
No way, man.
Yeah. Yeah, not Couturier. I understand why you would say that, Beard, because like if you're looking at a true rebuild, like if you're going to really tear it down, for sure you can't. I just don't see it happening in Philadelphia.
It'd be honestly different if they hit on Nolan Patrick in that draft and he became a different player than he ended up being, and he became a leader in Philadelphia. Things probably would have went a different direction there.
Yeah. You don't even hear about him in Vegas anymore. Like, his career's over, really.
Who?
Patrick.
Nolan Patrick.
Yeah.
He just concussions can't make it. We did have a couple of guys retire. Backstrom, we talked about a little bit. I mean, he's not saying he's retiring, but that's because he's got 2 years left at $9.5 million, so he's not going to.
Thornton.
Joe Thornton and Paul Stastny both retired. Both guys who
Stastny played a lot of games, man. Stastny played a lot of games.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a Hall of Famer like his dad was, but had a pretty good career, man. I think he had 800 games.
Yeah. And so did Backstrom too, man. That 06 draft, like that was the I think the Eric Johnson draft. I think was Jonathan Toews in that draft too? Claude Giroux, I think. Backstrom.
Backstrom was 05, I think.
Was it?
Or
I thought that was the 06 draft with Giroux and Backstrom and Eric Johnson, and I think Jonathan Toews was in there.
My friend Trey is calling me. He lives in Arlington. He's a diehard Texas Rangers fan. So
Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. That's why I was preoccupied, like,
yeah, you're good.
keeping a World Series on, like, just.
I'll tell you too, man. Like, you don't. If there's shit you want to watch or stuff you got to do, you don't have to come on. No, that's not a big deal. Like, I don't want you guys to ever feel like this is a job. I want it to be fun.
No,
and
cool.
I mean, there's gonna be like I'm taking the time off when I go to. We're gonna be off for,
Dude, baseball is done now. Baseball is done now, so I'm in hockey mode. I'm not a constant basketball watcher. Football, I bet on. I don't sit there except for at red zone. But baseball is kind of preoccupies me. But now that baseball's done, dude, I'm all hockey now.
Yeah, it's too bad. When are you leaving to go to Toronto?
I leave in 9 days. I leave on the 9th. It's the 1st, yeah. And I'm back home on the 16th.
And we're not doing anything.
So Pearlo, we're not gonna miss much. I'll do the Thursday before I leave. We're gonna miss that Friday. We don't do shows on the weekend. Tuesday, I'll be back.
Do shows on the weekend anyways, yeah.
Pearlo, WestJet has a flight sale on for another 20 minutes tonight.
Okay. How much is that?
They got a deal on right now. You could probably fly to Toronto and back to Edmonton and back for $500.
Oh, $500.
Beard's like, I don't want this fucking animal near me.
No, I don't mind. Rico and I are gonna go to the Leafs Canucks game. We're going to that game. I am going to try to go to the Calgary Leafs game before.
Yeah.
So
I got to get my ass out west too. I've never been to Saskatoon.
Hey, we're gonna. Well, I've been to Saskatoon. I've been to Regina. I've been to Edmonton. I was very young when I was in Edmonton. Though I was like 3. So we're gonna make it to Edmonton too, Pearlo. So we're gonna meet you there.
That would be sweet. Love to see you.
But I could drive to Edmonton. Like Edmonton, I wouldn't even feel weird about it. It'd take me about a day to get there. I mean, it would be hard driving, but I could get there like maybe 2. My cousin drove from Calgary to Anchorage in 3 days. So
Edmonton's a little further away. So not much, 3 hours difference.
Okay, but he drove from Calgary to Alaska.
Oh yeah,
in
okay.
3 days.
Yeah. So it was further that way. Yeah.
Calgary is way further away
than
from me than Edmonton is.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
because
true.
you're further north.
Yeah,
so,
we're further. Edmonton's further north. So yeah, you're right.
So, okay, well, I'm going to end the show. I really appreciate once again, RJ Eskanos, Dylan Travers from Emerald City Hockey. Tomorrow, 10 p.m. Eastern, John Duncan, Off the Wall Hockey. Perlo knows him. Rico knows him. We're going to talk Boston Bruins. The great thing is we're going to have a Leafs game and a Bruins game to talk about.
Yeah.
So super happy to have John on. So glad he's coming on. Jay, we'll let you on Friday to do your picks if you want. We're figuring the formats out, guys. We're trying to work it. We're going to get better. We're going to have more graphics. I'll have a swear warning, if we need it. But
I think we went swear free today, didn't we?
No, I dropped an F-bomb for sure.
Oh, did you?
So yeah.
Fuck sake.
I don't even notice it.
Yeah, but it's okay. I mean, I want this to be an adult hockey channel. I don't mind if young adults come in, but I don't want their parents getting mad because we're swearing like Sailors. So yeah, looks like the Arizona is going to take the 3-2 lead into this to the third period. And that Colorado game is still real close, guys. So still a couple of great games. So thank you so much for being on again to the Emerald City Hockey guys. We will see you tomorrow.